Today we're going to be talking about how wide receivers can choose a press release. We're going to talk about the different press releases that you can use for each coverage look. So when it comes to picking a press release off the line of scrimmage, it's based on two things. It's based on the DB's leverage and how close or how far he is. So this video, we're going to kind of walk you through the different leverage looks that a DB will give you, the distances a DB will give you off the line of scrimmage based on press coverage, catch coverage, off-man coverage, and then releases you guys can use versus each one of those looks. So the first one we're going to be going over, this like lighter orange cone is going to simulate like the line of scrimmage, and then this red cone is going to simulate where this DB is. So let's say he is an inside shade press coverage right up on the line of scrimmage. So the reason why you want to look for his leverage off the line when picking a press release is that tells you what he's trying to accomplish, right? So whether he's inside shade press, 5 yards away, 10 yards away, whenever he's inside leverage, that means that he's trying to take away the inside release and the inside route. So his job is to hold that leverage and force everything to the sideline, which is where his help is, right? So if I have to run a route, whether it's an inside breaking route, outside breaking route, when he's inside shade, I have to attack his leverage. My goal is to try to get him to move off of this platform to the inside so I can get a free release to the outside so I can keep timing with my quarterback, but also spacing on the play. That's the number one goal of any press release situation. So now when it comes to picking a press release, right, we obviously know the leverage, we know what I'm trying to do conceptually, but in terms of the footwork off the line, that's based a lot on the distance he has from me. So if he's right up on the line of scrimmage, I don't necessarily need to close distance with him. He's already done that for me. So a release that we could use, and I'm going to show this release full speed, is I have a guy who's inside shade press, just a single jab move. So you're in your stance, left foot is up, we're just giving a single jab to the inside with my left foot, threatening him, trying to sell this move with my hips, try to step into his frame a little bit, and then take this outside release. We do that when he is right up on the line. We don't have much room to work. I'm going to show you how that release should look full speed. Now, the second press coverage look that we're going to go over is a head-up press coverage DB, right? So we talk a lot about a DB's leverage. Okay, he's inside leverage. He's trying to protect the inside. He's outside leverage. We're going to get to some releases for outside leverage in a second, but he's outside leverage. He's trying to take away the outside route. But what if he's right in front of you? What if the midline of this DB's body is just completely even with you? He's right in front of your face. You have to choose a release off the line that will allow you to release inside or release outside, aka a reactionary release. So that's a release that I like to call a split release. So a split release, if I got a guy who's head up press, he's got one of probably, I would say, 4 options. 1, he could just sit right there. 2, if you do a release, he could shade to the inside and try to disguise his leverage. 3, he could shade to the outside, try to disguise his leverage, or he could start to inch back, right? So those are one of the 4 options that he has. I want to be prepared for any one of those 4 options, but I obviously have to play fast as a wide receiver. So the split release, which is pretty much exactly how it sounds, you're going to take your front foot and you move your front foot out and your back foot up. So you come to this position of balance. Now, if this DB were to shade to the inside, what could I do? Push and release to the outside. He shades to the outside, I could push and release to the inside. Now, I'm able to do that quickly and I'm able to react quickly because I get to that position of balance. So again, the mechanics of this split release, we like using this when a DB is in head up press, front foot goes out, back foot goes up. We're not popping up my chest. We're pretending like I'm standing underneath a small door with my upper body. So if he does shoot hands or he tries to get hands in jam, I'm not screwed by being up tall and going to get knocked off balance. So I'm going to show you how this split release should look full speed. Now, before we get into this release, you guys, if you are a wide receiver and would like to train with us this offseason, we are coming out to 11 states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. So check out that very first link in the description below. If you guys are interested and would like to sign up, we are going to be coming out to Portland, Oregon, Dallas, Texas, Nashville, Tennessee, Chicago, Illinois, Buffalo, New York. Then we'll be heading out to Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So if you guys would like some more information on how you can sign up, again, very first link in that description below. Let's get back to this video. So this next press coverage situation that we're going to talk about is an outside shade press coverage guy. So why will we see outside shade? We briefly talked about it already in this video, but if I see outside shade press, usually what that means is that DB is expecting you to run an outside breaking route, or he has help to the inside, right? So if you're like a lot of times you'll see this if you're an outside wide receiver, and let's say maybe it's trips left, you're on the right side of the field, you cut your split down so you're lined up closer to the right tackle. You'll see a DB who's smart line up outside shade press, because why would I cut my split down to run an inside breaking route. I'm usually cutting my split down to use that space to the sideline to run an out route, a corner route, maybe like some type of slot fade route, whatever. So he'll sit outside shade. So let's say I have to run a route like a corner route. I'm not going to be able to get that outside release. So I have to get comfortable releasing to the inside. So if he's right up on the line of scrimmage, outside shade press. As this video goes on, we're going to get into different situations where they're 2 yards off, 3 yards off, etc. But if he's right up on the line, a release you could use is something called the wide step release. So a wide step release starts with this front foot. You have to take something called a prep step. It's almost like a crossover release, but it's not. So this front foot, you literally just pick it up and put it down in the grass. So pick it up, put it down, and you push off of this and you step wide. It's more of a lateral step because that DB is right up on the line. If he was maybe a yard away, you could step a little bit more vertical to close that space. But if he's already closed the space with us, we step lateral. We are trying to step outside of the DB's frame, sell with my hips and shoulders to try to get him to move so I could take that inside release and go. So I'm going to show you how that release could look full speed. It's a great release to use when you have outside shade press and that guy's right up on the line. Now this next press coverage situation, or I should call it man coverage situation, is going to be an inside leverage catch technique DB. So what release can you use against this? What are we trying to accomplish with this? So this is when you're lined up. Remember, this light orange cone is like the line of scrimmage. The red cone is like where the DB is. So he's inside shade, but he's about 2 to 3 yards away. So why would a DB line up like that? Why wouldn't he just press every single time? So usually you'll see this against maybe faster type wide receivers or DBs who are honestly just a little bit more on the patient side of things. Because what they're trying to accomplish with this coverage is they want you to pick something as a wide receiver in terms of a release. So if I come off the ball and he's inside shade 2 to 3 away and I just take off and run, because there's that gap of space, he's playing that catch technique, he is essentially going to catch us, get hands, and reroute us or squeeze us to the sideline, right? Because he's got that space. So as a receiver, what do you think you need to do with that space and with your release? I have to eat up that space and I have to close that space and then give him a move. I essentially want to bring that line of scrimmage to him, and then we're right back to that same press coverage inside shade scenario that we talked about in the very beginning of this video. So what's a release that you could use against this? So a release that I like is something called a punch step crossover release. So you're lined up here, DB's inside shade. This punch step happens with your back foot. So you're almost going to step up like slightly at almost like a 45-degree angle, and you're going to jab with this back foot. You're going to punch, reach to square up the DB, then you're going to hit just a simple crossover move, almost like you're playing basketball, right? A crossover move is where you step in the direction you are going first. So I go here, I punch, I reach, 1, 2, outside release and go. So I'm able to close the space with that punch step and that reach step, and then my crossover, again, attacks that leverage, which is what we always want to do when we have an inside shade press guy or inside shade catch technique guy. So I'm going to show you how this release is going to look full speed. Now, before we get into that release, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you guys would like a custom on-field and gym workout plan that you can do, check out that second link in the description below for our new custom wide receiver workout plan service. So what you'll be able to do is you're going to submit some film to me. That could be game film, practice film, film where your friend records you running routes. You can set it up on a tripod, whatever. You send me film. I'm going to give you some feedback on the film, areas you need to improve in, and then based on that film, I will structure an 8-week workout plan that you can do in the gym and on the field to improve your skills. So if this is something that interests you guys, you want to get better this off season, check out that second link in the description below. It's where you can get all the information. Let's get back to this video. Now, this next man coverage situation that we're going to be going over and how you guys can pick a press release is when we have a DB who's sitting in catch technique, so anywhere from 3 to 5 yards off, and he's right in front of my face. So he's in that head up coverage. So remember we talked about it when it was press coverage. When he's head up, this DB has a couple different options, right? He could either start to inch back, he could keep his leverage inside, keep his leverage outside, or just sit, right? DBs are very creative. They like to disguise their leverage, but we have to be prepared for that and pick a release that will allow me to react. So this is going to be something I call a walk split release. You're obviously not walking, but like the first 2 steps are similar to you like approaching the DB and closing the space with the DB. Remember, anytime that we have space between me and a DB, I don't want to try to make a move with any type of space in between us. If he's 2 to 3 yards off, and let's say I approach him and I only go a yard, I throw a fake to the outside, he jumps. Because there's this space, he could cut off my angle on the route. So we have to get into his cushion and try to step on his toes. So this version of this release, it's like the split release that we did off the line of scrimmage where I just split, but instead we're taking 2 steps approaching and trying to close the space. So set, go, 1, 2, then split. So you could split in this position. If that DB shades to the inside, cool, take the outside release. Shades to the outside, cool, take the inside release. What if he just sits? You could honestly pick whichever way you want to go because you're in that position of balance. I recommend if you have an inside breaking route, release to the inside, outside breaking route, release to the outside. But again, it really doesn't matter. You just have to pick one and get to that position of balance. So again, you come off the ball, set, go, 1, 2, split. I'm going to show you how this release is going to look full speed. Now this next man coverage situation is, what if I have a DB who's outside shade in that catch technique look? What should you do? So obviously we have catch technique DB 2 to 3 yards off, maybe 3 to 5 yards off. I want to close that space, but when he's outside leverage, remember his leverage responsibilities, no matter how close or how far away he is, always stay the same. He's trying to force us to the inside and protect the outside. So the best way to get a free release is make him think that we were trying to release to the outside to move him off his platform so I could get that inside release and maintain timing with the quarterback, but also spacing on my route. Guys, think of it like this. Let's say I have to run a corner route and I have an outside shade guy. So I go at him, I try to fake inside and I go, but he reroutes me and I break to the corner. I'm gonna be right on the sideline and I have to give my quarterback room to throw me open, especially when I have an outside breaking route. So we have to attack him, but get comfortable taking that inside release. And at the top of the route, if he's right on your hip, you could swat slip under. Maybe we stack him and give him a move, but this release allows us to be able to do that. So I call this a triple step release. It's pretty much exactly like how it sounds, but you're starting, remember that wide step release we did where he was right up on the line of scrimmage, where I take that like prep step and throw wide. You're taking that prep step, but instead of throwing wide right away, you're taking 2 steps to close the distance with him. Then the third step, part of the triple step, is like essentially a wide step, right? So you're coming off here, prep step with the front foot, prep, 1, 2, 3, throwing a fake to the outside, bringing that line of scrimmage to him, and then we're taking that inside release. So I'm going to show you how this triple step release will look full speed.